90 or something. That's what
Mm-hmm.
30 words.
At least we have a cool breeze going. That's, well, a breeze. I don't know about cool.
Send out the search code.
Yeah.
Just trying to fight against winter. I tell you what, so you can try to catch up so we can get going here. How's that?
Okay.
Any objections? No. All right. I'll read slow. Giving our own introductory talk is Danielle Alpher. Danielle's journey to meditation began in the early 2000s, intertwined with her yoga practice. In 2022, a simple Google search for chanting near me led her to the Providence Zen Center. From the moment she stepped through the PZC doors, Danielle found her spiritual home. Danielle serves as the director of PZC, where she skillfully leads staff and volunteers in coordinating the center's operations, development, and outreach. Her dedication to fostering Zen practice extends beyond PZC, as she also holds the position of development director of the Kwan Haeng Zen Online, and serves as secretary of the Kwan Haeng School of Zen's development committee. Danielle resides in Rhode Island with her husband and 2 dogs. When not at home, they can be found traveling in their motorhome, visiting Zen centers, national parks, and the stunning natural landscape across the states. Answering questions today is Kwan Haeng Sunim JDPS. Sunim met Zen Master Seung Sahn at the Cambridge Zen Center in 1986. He was ordained as a novice monk in 1999 at Chik Chi Sa, South Korea, and in 2003 he received Bhikku precepts at Tong Do Sa, South Korea. He has lived and practiced mainly at Hwa Sa and Sang Sa in Korea, where he performed the jobs of headmaster, media director, and head monk. Kwan Haeng Sunim received inka in December 2020 and is currently the abbot and co-guiding teacher at the Providence Zen Center here in Rhode Island. So thank you both for appearing.
And some folks, if you could move up, that would be good. You're like way back there. Yeah, it's yeah, that's good. A new person sitting right up front. That's nice.
So, good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining. So, there are many lessons in the Kwan Haeng School of Zen. There's a handful of them that really, really stick with me. One of them is from Zen Master Wu Kwang, Richard Strobe, open mouth, already mistake. It's kind of hard for me to give these talks because I have that saying in the back of my mind, open mouth, already mistake. Which then is, brings me to my second thing is then, okay, well, how is it just now and what is appearing and what comes up? And if I stick with what's coming up in this moment, ideally I'm not like making anything and coming to this conversation with any prepared or, contrary talk. So then as I was preparing, I was saying, all right, well, how am I going to decide what I talk about here today? And I want to share direct experience, basically, because that's what Zen is all about. What is happening right now? To me, not necessarily something that I think what is happening, or somebody is telling me what's happening, or I'm watching it on a screen, being told. So, and then, we have the idea of time, what is happening right now. It's at, right at this very moment, the projector is whirring. We are all sitting here listening to me. The AC is humming a little bit. But also time is, what's happening in this chapter of my life, my personal experience, my work, my relationships, so on and so forth. So on April 21st, I was walking the dogs on a busy street. I was paying attention to the dogs, not paying attention to myself or where I was walking. I was cruising over uneven pavement, didn't notice, and I took a tumble. That changed my life. That moment I went down in a split second, and in that quick moment I knew something happened. I knew it was bad because I experienced a pain that I had never experienced before. And then also in that split second, it was like, holy shit, I'm not now going to be able to use this foot. Like, that's going to change everything. And I felt that like in a split second. It happened while I was out on the road with my husband in our camper in El Paso, Texas, in a parking lot of Cracker Barrel. So it was also very random. We were on our way, traveling, making our way back here. And when you're out in a camper in a situation like that, it is a two-person job, especially when you have two dogs, and it's a rolling condo basically. Well, suddenly what happened is I had to completely rely on this man now. I don't know if anybody ever had the experience of having to rely on another person, but I never really had that experience before. And why I say that is because it's like literally logistics. How is it happening right now? What's happening right now? Well, right now I can't step on my foot. I have my crutches. I have to use my crutches, which means my arms are now taken. So I can't even go and make myself a cup of coffee and carry it across the room to the couch that I need to sit on and put my leg up. That's how it is right now. So I then had to rely on the kindness of my husband to basically do all these things. And the coffee is just one thing. He had to do everything. He had to walk the dogs every moment, every time, all of the food prep, all that. So why am I telling you this story? Because I had to sit and wait and cultivate like such gratitude that I even had this man who was willing to get up extra early because I'm a 4 a.m.er and he's not, and I like my coffee, so he'll get up and make me a cup of coffee and set me up and make sure everything's propped and I'm ready to get on the phone for my hours of conference calls for the day. And this man, and then he's like, all right, I'm going to go back to bed. And then, and I'm out in the other, having my calls, kind of trying to keep it as quiet as possible because I'm also want to be mindful of this generous being who is caring for me. And now also all of the physical care for our animals, himself, shop, grocery, like everything. My practice is what allowed me to be really patient with myself and be compassionate with myself, to be able to sit there and not use my foot while feeling like useless and somewhat burdensome to him, and then the thing is, well, your husband's that's his job, and it is his job, and he does it with a smile and with love and grace, but not everybody can do that. So I lean into the gratitude of what he did for me. And then the times when he got aggravated or, all right, enough of this already. Like, can't you get your own coffee, or can't you walk the dogs this time? Like, come on. He never said that, but I could feel that sometimes, because you sense that he's a human too. Like, he needs a break. He's got to think of me every time he thinks of himself now. I forget the point that I was just going to make with that. Anyway, back to my direct experience. This practice, this idea of holding don't know, allows me to be open to what is happening right now, keeping it simple and not making all things in my mind, and being able to bring it back to right now. What is happening right now? How can I help? And how can I be grateful for what I do have right now? Because then that is too what brings me through any suffering. Because that's what we were both suffering. We still are. I'm still on the mend. But the suffering is less and less each day. I'm leaning into the gratitude, moving forth with compassion, and really, how can I help? That's really it in a nutshell. I mean, I can go on a bunch of other things. I think I got like 1 more minute left. The bottom line is this practice, Dave read my bio. I came here looking for chanting. Each day we chant special chanting, Kwan Haeng Sunim, which is the Bodhisattva for compassion. If I'm suffering, whether it's my leg or I see Mike suffering because he's, aggravated about being the only one having to do every dog walk, I get it. Or every chore. It's he's housemaster, kitchen master, work master, all of it. Anyway, it is this practice that really allows me to slow down, be in the moment, offer compassion, cultivate gratitude. And then also I want to just say too, all the gratitude to each and every one of you for being here. You're here with your generous practice. You're here with your generous contributions in the form of volunteer energy and funds. We thank you. It's what drives our programming and our whole existence. So we very much appreciate that. And I guess with that, I'll end.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that.
You're welcome.
I have some questions. Somebody wants to ask something, they can. So I thought I'd maybe talk a little bit about kongans today. I mean, we seldom talk about kongans, and I think folks know I don't really have a affinity with kongans, to put it mildly. Kongans is not my best thing, but I have had some. Yeah, but if you do them over the years. You do get some really good teachings from them, and so one of the ones that I got is the Seung calls master. Seung calls master. Seems it's a kind of interesting kong. So this Zen Master gets up in the morning and he calls to himself and he answers himself. He says, Seung, don't be deceived by anybody anytime. Yes, yes. So that's kind of, don't be deceived by anybody anytime. Yes, yes, I don't even remember. But basically, it calls to himself and he says, not to be deceived by anybody anytime. And then he answers himself and says, yes, yes. And so the question is, which one is the real master? And so that's an interesting kongan, because what Zen Master Seung Sahn says about that is that your master is always right in front of you, which is a very interesting thing. Your master is always right in front of you. So I went and did a retreat, and in the retreat I just had this couch in front of me. And so, I was sitting on the floor, the couch was in front of me, and I was just bringing myself back to that couch. But also, when you say this idea, your master is always in front of you, then what master do we follow if we're not following the master that's always in front of us? We usually follow our mind, our anger, our likes, our dislikes, whatever is going on, how we feel. All these different minds appear. All of these different minds appear. But how can we cut through them? We go in the store and we get angry at the person in the store, whatever. We have some kind of difficulty. Then how do we cut through that? How do we cut through that? And so that is just coming back right to the moment, because if you have this clear mind, then your master is indeed right there in front of you. So then, who is your master at that time? The floor is brown. My clothes are gray. If you have that mind, and mind is clear, then anything that appears in that moment, you can work with that. And that moment, that is your master. Then basically with the Koan, how do you express that? So it's okay to know about what the idea, the Koan and all of that, but it's a whole other thing then to express that. And so then, another Koan that I have is not that I have, but everybody has. It's the first one is Joju's dog. So does anybody here not know about Koans? And then everybody knows a little bit. So Joju's dog. Does a dog have a monk comes up to Joju and asks him, does the dog have Buddha nature? And Joju said, boo, which means no. But the question goes, and the question isn't, does a dog have Buddha nature? But the question goes is, the Buddha said everything has Buddha nature. Joju says a dog does not have a Buddha nature. Then, so that's a very interesting thing, because it's not that direct question of does a dog have Buddha nature. So what you don't want to do is you don't want to answer the question directly, because then what you do is you get into the world of opposites. Right, wrong, up, down, no, yes. Does the dog have Buddha? Joju says, does the dog have, so the Buddha says everything has Buddha nature. Joju says, does a dog has no Buddha nature? And the question is, which one is correct? And so then when we look at Kongans and stuff, we got to understand that they have these hooks that are put there purposely that can grab you. So this hook of right, wrong, yes, yes, and no, up or down, the world of opposites is given right to you. And usually, if you haven't practiced, you get grabbed by that hook. Is it wrong or is it right? And so, but there is a way to answer that. And the way to answer many Kongans is not right or wrong. It's another way to hit that answer. And so having said that, there are Kongan, for instance, there are people who come in and ask me that, certain Kongans you can answer with words. Okay, you can say, yes, this is, you can say, this is that way. Joju's, does the dog have Buddha nature? And the Buddha said, everything has Buddha nature. Then how do you answer that? Now that one might use words to answer that, but the other Kongans that don't. And so how do you know which one is, and that you use and you don't use? Well, you don't know. And so then this not knowing mind, you just come from that mind, and very seldom people just go in and answer a Kongan just like that. So you work with it, and you work with coming back to this not knowing mind. And so coming back to this not knowing mind, I also found when talking with people, I ask them, then what are you doing when you're sitting? And when you're sitting, you breathe in, clear mind, breathe out, don't know. But then how have you attained that? Don't know. So within the school, you have to attain this not knowing mind. And sometimes it can take years, literally. I understand from Zen Master Seung Sahn, it took about 7 years before she just got it, just like that. This not knowing mind, this before thinking mind. So, in a way to begin to do that is you got to ask yourself, what am I? And when you ask yourself this, what am I, it's got to get you to this point where, if you ask sincerely, this not knowing mind appears. So what am I? You can ask all the different kinds of, you got to get all the answers, and you got to use up them answers and burn them out. And finally, what will happen is that you'll find that there are no answers, and when you say, what am I? This not knowing mind just appears. Because it has tried all the answers. It doesn't know what it is, so this not knowing mind appears. And with that not knowing mind, after a while, you begin to just return to it, and it can get, and you get comfortable with it. So then, you hold this not knowing mind for a while, and what happens? It changes. It changes to clear mind. The floor is brown. The cushion, this cushion is blue by semen. So always when you're sitting, you have your eyes are open. And so it's still very important in our school that you attain this not knowing mind. And I asked Zen Master Seung Sahn, I said to him one time, this Renzai Zen. And then I said to him, if you don't attain this not knowing mind, can you move on with your practice? And I asked him like maybe at least 2 times, maybe 3 times. And I asked him at different times and came at him at different ways. And always he said that you have to, in order for your practice to move on, you have to attain this before thinking. Or have not attain it, but have some experience with it. Okay? Not attain it, but have some experience with it. And so having some experience with it is coming back to this moment. Don't know. The Renzai, the way that they do it, they really hold this mu and really return to this mu. And I read the book, 3 Pillars of Zen, and so they sit very painfully, and then all of a sudden their mind opens up and they see everything, and they get this satori, so to speak, which brings them right back to this moment. They have a real moment of clarity. And what it is that your body and mind, your body and mind needs to have that experience before it can believe you. So you read a book and the book says this, and you say, oh, that sounds right, but your body don't necessarily believe you because it hasn't had that experience. That's a very kind of interesting point. So it has to have this experience. And here we say that you can have that experience with one retreat simply by returning to this not knowing mind. This not knowing. But at some point, then you kind of begin to get it. And so and the thing about that is that it's important that you get that, so that when you go and you have a question, you go in and you have a question. And so I said, what color is the wall? And you hit like that. Then this not knowing mind appears for 1 second, and you answer the question. Okay, so that's an easy one. So then I say that there's Joju says the dog has no Buddha nature. The Buddha said everything has Buddha nature. Which one is correct? And you hit. And for that moment, this not knowing mind appears, right? Just for a moment, and then you answer from there. But as you come in and do Kongan practices, what happens is that you can hit this, and this not knowing mind will stay there for a good few moments. It isn't going to just poof right away like when you just started. It'll stay there. Now the answer might still be no, you don't know, okay? But on the other hand, then some answer can appear, and that answer appears, then you throw it out. And if it doesn't work, that's okay. You did your job. Now it's for the teacher to do his job and tell you whether it was correct or not, because the answer is not what's important. What's important is that you return to this not knowing mind, and you use this intuitive self, this before thinking self, this universal self, to answer that question. Why? Is because then when you go to your day-to-day life and you just go into your day-to-day life, is that you want to bring that intuitive mind, that before thinking mind, into your day-to-day life. Because what is a kangan? A kangan is a problem that you can't answer. Does everybody have all the answers to their life in their day-to-day life? No, not really. But wouldn't it be a cool thing, a helpful thing, if sometimes you can bring your intuitive mind to bear on that, the clear mind. This Zen Master is right in front of you, this clear moment, where you're not hindered by your thoughts or your traumas or whatever, but you just see the thing as it is, and then respond to it. And that's kind of like what the practice is. And what did the Buddha say? The Buddha said that the reason why people suffer is because they're attached to I. What is this I? This I is your likes, your dislikes, your wishes, your dreams, all this thing this I, okay? And so the reason why we suffer is because we're attached to this I. So then everything that we do is about becoming unattached. It's as simple as, it's very easy when you look at it like that. So, of course, when the Buddha, his mind opened up and he got enlightened, he couldn't really teach that way. I mean, I can teach that way because we all know about Zen and we've been reading about it, But back then, all of a sudden to spring that on a group of people, you couldn't really do that. It wouldn't work. So we had to start from somewhere else. And that was, the Four Noble Truths, the Eightfold Path. If you do something good's going to happen. You do something bad's going to happen. But as he went on with his practice grew up. His practice didn't grow up, but the way that his students grew up, and so he gave them more as he went along. So it just keeps coming back to this point of it's very important that you attain this before thinking mind, this intuitive mind, this don't know. And so all of the Buddhist practices, all of them get to that point, and they just have different ways of doing it. So if you like a practice in, say, insight meditation or Soto Zen, because they do the sitting different, then you know that it's about getting to this point. You just find out where they get to it and do it. Soto Zen, they like to do shikantaza, which is just sitting, letting things be. But it's also letting things be means coming back right to this moment. And insight meditation, it's also just looking at where the emotion, where I guess the feelings go, and you just bring it back to the feeling from before and the feeling from before that. And where do you wind up? You wind up in this not knowing mind. So all of them do it. And one of the things, I didn't think I would need it, but does somebody have some question? Go ahead, ask. One Ilson knows how to ask Bodhisattva questions.
I get this fairly often. People ask about precepts. And, I kind of have my view of that. But the way you're talking, about not having right and wrong and acting from the true self or whatever, I mean, how does that relate to you, to precepts, to how to behave in the world?
Well, so it's funny because Zen Master Seung Sahn, it says that the precepts, think of it like you're in a storm, right? You're in a storm, you don't know which way to go, so you take your directions, okay? So you're outside, you're hanging out with your friends and you're drinking and stuff like that, and you don't know if the things that they're doing are all that correct. Follow the precepts. Okay, precepts about not drinking to the point of heedlessness. Okay, don't drink to the point. But I come home and I'm with my father and he offers me a beer. I'm going to have a beer, like that. So the precept says that's why it says don't drink to the point of heedlessness, right? And all the precepts are like that. So the precepts in our tradition are guides. They're not like in some of the other, even other religions, they're hard and fast. They're hard and fast. So precepts, when you say, is that know when they are open and when they are closed. And so it's the funniest thing is that when you really get into practicing, you don't really have the precepts in mind, but what you do is just correct. You just naturally follow the correct thing. And what is the correct thing? The correct thing is, how can I help? How can I help? That's all that is. How can I help? So, what is your point that you're trying? I heard that noise. What is the point that you're trying to make over there?
No, that answered my question very well. Thank you. That was just someone asked on Zoom, can you be a Zen master without exposure to Buddhism?
Okay, why don't you sit down? I think the term Zen master comes from Buddhism, so there you go. But the thing is, what you're saying is a kind of a good question. Can you attain your true self without Buddhism? Yes, you can. Yes, you can. All right, there's a lot of spiritual people that are around that are not attached to a religion. This is what I'm trying to tell folks is that religion needs spirituality, but spirituality does not need religion. And so if you go around and say, oh, what religion are you doing? Okay, that's, if you're like that, then you're kind of missing the boat. You know, you miss the boat on that. But you don't want to get too, we don't need to get too heavy into that. But it's obvious that they're just some very spiritual people, but they're not following a particular religion. I have in my day, in my coming up, met some very spiritual people that were not into any particular religion. And that's it simply. And so having said that, I'm going to listen to Dave's question.
So while you were speaking, it brought up a memory of somebody that was coming here for quite a while, and they were struggling to connect to, I guess, a higher power, something bigger than self. Some, I don't know how to describe it, but they were seeking something more than just this, more than don't know. Can you talk about how a practice may not provide that connection to something else?
Yeah. So that's wanting something. If you want something in your practice, then you are going to have problems. I have in my past. One time was sitting, and I had a really, really good experience with this sitting. And what did I want after that? I wanted to have that experience again. And so I think for the next 10 years, it was about 10 years, I really suffered with that, trying to get things just so that I can have, because it was a pretty deep experience. But now if you come to Buddhism, I came to Buddhism, I wanted to get enlightenment. And so this is, but when you practice, and as you practice, your things begin to pan out. That's what I would say, pan out. Your mind begins to digest. What is spirituality? What am I? What is my connection to the universe? That stuff begins to pan out. And those funny questions like, what can I get for myself, is kind of falls by the wayside. I know, for instance, when I came and I went and had an interview, and they said, so why are you here? I said, so I can get enlightenment. But they said, no, you're here so you can help other people. I said, no, I'm not. Come on, let's be reasonable. I paid my money, I put my time aside, I came here for me. What are you doing? But it's interesting is that as you practice and as you go around, those things begin to fall down by the wayside. And especially as you look inside and you say, what am I? What am I? And you look at that and you see that, one of the things that we would do in Korea is we'd have a retreat. After a retreat, we'd go to the movies and stuff like that. And so you got like let's say 6 people, and 2 of them are nuns, the other 4 are monks. What are you going to see? Which movie are you going to go see? And then that's it. So you just go. You just go and see whatever. And it isn't real. It's okay, you go and see the movie, but you find out that it's not really about the movie. It's about connecting with the folks. So I saw movies that, I would never go in and see myself. I wouldn't just see that. And some of them were pretty entertaining, but it's about connecting. And it really is about how can I help in that situation. So I fell into that realization after a while, after coming here and after doing, suffering and so forth and so on. It's not all about me. You just got to realize that it's not all about me. And then what is this I? When you look at this I, what is it? It has no self-nature. And the favorite thing that I like to say is that, like I said, you got a parent, you got a loved one that's known you for 20 years, give them a piece of paper, ask them to write everything about you that they know. You take a piece of paper, write everything about yourself, okay, and then compare. Chances are those two, the things on one paper and the things on the other paper are going to be different.
We have a question online.
Okay, go ahead.
Hi, Sensei. Thank you for being here. Since I'm glad you mentioned the precepts, how does the precepts relate on a personal level, but on a collective level? Our country's bombing of Iran yesterday, the first precept, non-harming, what should we make of it as practitioners?
So then, as practitioners, what we do, if we want to look at it that way, we're all here as practitioners. So what we do is we practice, and we give you the tools to practice, okay? And from that practice, you attain this point of how can I help? And so I can tell you something, if you have 10 people and you're all gonna try to help in some way, I almost guarantee that you're going to have 10 different ways of people helping. So you're talking about now we have this war. This war has happened, and it's a horrible war, and all the stuff that led up to this war is also horrible. And I think there's some people out there that are demonstrating. Okay, there's some people just in the moment. How can I take care of my family? How can I take care of the situation I'm in? How can I bring clarity to what's going on? If you don't have the money and you don't have if you don't have the money to help and you don't have the time to help, you can always do Kwan Bosa with that energy, that compassion in mind of what's going on.
Thank you so much for being willing to engage. Otherwise, we have to be about what we do on the cushion, what we do off the cushion, and how we take a stand for the precepts as a collective body of Zen practitioners. Thank you.
Okay, all right, but I would point out, though, that as I hear you saying that as a body and as a group and stuff like that, but it's not up to me to say, okay, we're all going to go and we're all going to demonstrate. That's not up for me to say that. Not in this pure form of practicing. We all practice, and then we all help as we can. Okay, but if my idea of it's very easy to see it as you're seeing it there, but my idea might not be your way of helping, and my way of helping might differ. And so that's an important point.
Indeed, thank you.
Does someone else have a question? Go ahead.
Isn't life just one big kangan?
sitting here talking to you. Sitting here talking to you. That's what life is for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, sitting here doing this. Yeah, you can put all that out there, and I don't know. I think people know me that I go hide in my room and I'm looking at all of like what's going on. I was brought up listening to the news and all of that sort of stuff, and you folks don't know it, but I'm real heavy into what's going on, who's doing what to whom, and that kind of thing. But I'm not about to throw it out here. But yeah, I have concerns about that. We're going to be. This is not one of those things. It's going to affect us. We're going to get affected with that, and it just seems that the more the more as a country we delve into that stuff, the more blowback we're going to get. So we're definitely getting some blowback, and you guys got to be prepared for that. We're going to get some serious blowback. But having said that, yeah, you only took 15 minutes. Usually they take 20 minutes. So is there some questions? That's some other, and go ahead.
So my question is about the Bodhisattva vows. I spent a long time on a cushion trying to understand them more in depth. And the first line about sentient beings are numberless, I vow to save them all. That one I struggled with for a long time because of, in my relationships, I recognized over the years the periods of selfishness where I was motivated more by what I wanted. And then I recognized other periods in my life where I almost went too far in the opposite direction, where I wanted to be so helpful, but then I depleted myself. I harmed my own life and unbalanced things by trying to help too many people too much, always saying yes to things when sometimes it was pointed out to me that I should actually say no to certain things. And then I read a book by a Zen monk that I can't remember his name, but he mentioned something about how when he interpreted that line of wanting to save all sentient beings, and he learned at one point that it was sometimes I need to save them from myself. And that struck home with me for when I was reading that. So do you have any comment on that?
Well, I have the idea that sentient beings are numberless. We vow to save them all. And if you look at that, then what you do is you start with the people that are close to you, start with your family and so forth and so on. But you're talking about something a little bit different. You're talking about that when you're doing that helping, when do you know your limits and so forth and so on. And that's where you come in and begin to practice and look inside. Look inside and become clear. When you become clear, then you can attain your limits, know your limits, and stick with them. You know, there's no other way to say it, because for one, I don't know. I don't know the details of what, and I don't need to know. But what I know would help you. What would help you would be a clear mind in that situation, whatever situation. If you can clearly see what it is it helpful to help this person, or if I help that person, will I be enabling them to continue doing whatever it is that's causing the both of us suffering? You know, those kinds of questions are really personal, and I guarantee you need to be clear and not ask a monk who doesn't have a whole lot of relationships about that sort of thing. No, but I'm only teasing, actually. I have a lot of relationships around here. Okay, all of these people, and then I go into a meeting and get beat up and stuff like that. So, trust me, I know about it. I know about these relationships, but that's kind of like how it is. Okay? Sure. All right. So I'll just come down to 11:30, and does anybody have any questions? I'm sorry. That's not what I was supposed to say. We're done, and And thank you for your practice and your presence here and listening. And I enjoyed, also, I always enjoy talking with you. And I hope to see you again. And so, yeah. And do you have announcements to do? Okay, all right,
Unofficial cover for Eva.
okay.
So let's see, first up is save the date, August 2nd and 3rd for Founders Day weekend. We'll have a Founders Day ceremony, which also includes a precept ceremony, so anybody interested in precepts, please come forward and speak with Kwan Haeng Sunim or Zen Master Seung Sahn in the back, get some info on that. And let's see, isn't that Zen Fest too, somewhere in there? Yeah, so there's going to be we're going to have a bit of a party out back with music, barbecue, and lots of food. So please check that out if you're interested in coming and register. Also, Summer Colche is just around the corner, July 5th through August 2nd, with a 3-day minimum stay. Again, just talk to any of us about that if you're interested. We have next workday, a volunteer day, July 19th, to come and work with the Sangha. Hopefully indoor and outdoor spaces, so it will depend on the weather and what the projects are and the weather. So stop by for that. And Zen Fest again. And was there a Buddhist Christian retreat?
Yeah, that was this past Saturday.
Okay, and don't we have a one day coming up?
Yes, we do, I know.
So we have a one-day retreat coming up, which is a great opportunity for relatively new people to come and sit for a full day with us, which is, about 9 in the morning till about 3:30, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So that's a great opportunity to really deepen your practice and build up to the big boys, the Colches and whatnot, yeah. And to quote, I think, Diego, practice is free, but electricity and internet is not. So if you can afford $1 or $2 to drop it in the donation box out front, or also for the regulars here, I hope you are considering being members. That all helps pay the bills. All right, thanks everybody for coming. I think we have snacks out there today, so thank you.
And gift shop too, I believe.
Thank you, take care.
Oh, we did. I thought I was going to have to grab it on the way down. We can leave these cushions here. Here, Matt.